In this video, we're going to look at how we can divide fractions by other fractions. If you haven't seen the previous video, the 1.4 video, please go watch that first, because we're going to use one of the methods we learned in that video to help us do this. Our evidence, we're going to use that algorithm, that's what I'm talking about from the last video. We're going to make sure we do our best even if we get stuck, and you're going to check your work, make sure it actually makes sense, use Math Raising as your authority. If you're watching this video, you don't necessarily have a teacher in front of you to ask whether you're right or not. You have to use your own math reasoning, prove it to yourself. So we're first going to look at an example. We've got 5/6 divided by 3/10. To solve this, we're going to do the same thing that we did when we were dividing whole numbers by fractions. We're going to, first of all, check if we have any whole numbers. We don't. Amazing. And then we're going to use the KFC method. And you may remember this. Let's make that a little bit thicker. KFC. This was keep, flip, and change. You may also use this as keep, change, flip. It depends on how you want to think about it. So that means that we're going to keep our first fraction exactly as it appears. So this is still going to be 5/6. We are going to flip. We're going to take the reciprocal of our divisor. So we'll have 10/3. And then we're going to change our operation from division to multiplication. From there, it's the same thing that we do when we're multiplying fractions. We're just going to multiply straight across. So we've got 5 times 10, which is 50. We have 6 times 3, which is 18. So we can say that this is our solution. However, we could also try to simplify this. Now, I don't know exactly how many times how many times 18 goes into 50. What I do know is that both of these are even numbers, which means that we can divide both of them by 2. So we're going to get a new fraction, which is 25/9. I'm pretty sure that there's nothing that goes into 25 and 9. So this is as simple as we can make this fraction. You could, if you wanted to, and especially for real-life scenarios, turn this into a mixed number. In that case, think about how many times 9 would go into 25. Can only go in twice. You're going to multiply 9 by 2. It'll give you 18. Subtract that from 25. You'll get a 7. So our numerator for our mixed number, if we wanted it, would be 7/9. So we could say this is 2 and 7/9 if we so choose. So let's talk about word problems. They're a little bit harder. In this word problem, Mario has 2/3 of a mushroom. He needs to have enough to last him 5 halves more days, or 2.5 more days. So we need to figure out how much of the mushroom can Mario eat each day. The trick to this one is we need to actually make our division sentence first. That means we need to figure out what is the dividend. And you might remember that the dividend is the same thing as the total. So if we look at the two values that we have, only one of those can actually be a total. So we're going to say that he has a total of 2/3 of a mushroom. That means that the divisor has to be 5 halves. We will write that here as our second value. Finally, we know this is going to be a division problem because we need to break 2/3 into 5 halves. If we do this, we'll use the KFC method. We'll keep our 2/3. We'll find the reciprocal of our divisor, and we'll change our operation to multiplication. From here, it's just the same as multiplying fractions. So 2 times 2 is 4. Over 3 times 5 is 15. Now, we can't simplify that any more than we already have. 4/15 is simplified. However, since this is a word problem, we're going to have to do one last thing. We'll have to write a sentence saying something along the lines of Mario can eat 4/15 of his mushroom each day. And as you can see, I ran out of space there. But we'll need to make sure that we have a sentence there since we are using a word problem, since we are solving a word problem. So the next thing to try is a you-do problem. Here we have 2/7 divided by 4/9. Get some paper out if you haven't already. Try this one. Ready? Go! So things to remember then. Use the KFC method to help you divide fractions. That's keep, flip, change. You keep the dividend, you flip, you find the reciprocal of your divisor, and you change your operation to multiplication. Simplify your work if you can. You won't always be able to simplify it, but if you can, simplify it. And finally, in a word problem, the dividend is the total amount you start with, and the divisor is either how many groups you want to split it into, or how much needs to be in each group. It depends on the context. We'll find out. Before you go, we're going to leave you with these suggested practice problems. You've got 2 just standard division sentences and then 1 word problem. If you need to rewatch other parts of the video to help you do so, you may do so. Of course, have a good time. Good luck.